Brought to you by 1AAuto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet. This is part 2 of a 2-part video, removal and installation of a front hub on a 99 to 04 Jeep Grand Cherokee. This is part 2, which is the installation. And here's a quick reminder of the tools that you're going to need for this process. And in addition to the tools listed here, you will need a torque wrench for reassembly. Alright, just going to take a wire brush, clean out some of the scale and stuff in here. Okay, new hub from 1AAuto, nice and shiny and new. Just put it on the axle, kind of work it on it, hold the axle from the back, and then just spin it so it's in place. Push it in. Okay. Take one of our bolts. Start it in. Second bolt. Make sure the ABS harness isn't getting caught up in there. Start it in. Okay, and our third bolt, you always want to start the bolts first. You never want to put one bolt in and then tighten it up. Okay, I'm just going to fast forward through preliminarily putting these bolts in. And just a note, we did have to work hard to get these back in. The bolts do fit pretty snug in there. Okay, we're going to torque these to 85 foot-pounds. And now we're going to use a torque wrench, torque them to 85 foot-pounds. Okay, now put our washer on. We're going to put our nut back on. And I'm just going to preliminarily tighten it with my impact wrench. I'm going to watch my axle go in. Okay. And I'm going to torque that when I have everything, my brakes back together, and I can have somebody hold the brakes for me. We'll just put our rotor back on. I always like to take a lug nut and stick it on there just to hold everything in place. Okay, so now this goes in. Start those two bolts in. Okay, now I'm going to tighten these caliper bracket bolts to 85 foot-pounds. Now my pads can go back in. And for anybody wondering why I'm installing old brakes, is because we really did this video, the real repair we were doing was this hub. The brakes on this vehicle are fine, so we're just reinstalling the old ones. But we can do a video and show you how to do it at the same time. So you just put the pads in. Push the pads in. Now your caliper comes down. Actually, one thing, your ABS harness, make sure you clip it back into the bracket. if you took it out to access that back bracket bolt. Okay, put your caliper right back down on. Okay, you might have to push these slides in a little bit. Have your caliper bolts. Just gonna work the caliper around until you get the bolts started in. You have to make sure that these slides are also twisted the right way. These caliper bolts, you only want to tighten to about 20 foot-pounds. And you might say, well, that's not a lot. And that's right, it's not a lot. These bolts just kind of hold things in place. What really takes the pressure is this big bracket with those bolts that you tightened up to 85 foot-pounds. Okay, now I can remove that lug nut that we put in place, and it's time to put the wheel back on. Now we're going to tighten this nut up. You need to torque it to 175 foot-pounds. I've got a not-so-lovely assistant in the car. He's put it in four-wheel drive and has it in gear with it shut off, and he's also going to be standing on the brakes. Alright, so hit the brakes. Alright, my torque wrench only goes to 150, so I'm going to torque it to 150. Stand on those brakes. Alright, and I'm going to pull it just a little further for 175. We'll be all set. Put our spring-loaded washer on there, our retainer, and cotter pin. And here I'm just bending the end of the cotter pin up so that it can't work its way out. Now you can put your wheel back on and then start your lug nuts by hand so you avoid cross-threading them. And now I'm just using the impact wrench to preliminarily tighten them, and I'll put it on the ground and torque them. Okay, now I'm going to use my torque wrench. I'm going to torque these lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds, and I'm going to kind of use a star pattern crossing over each one. And this is not the last step, so stay tuned. Okay, whenever you do brake work, make sure that you pump the brakes a bunch of times, and then do a test stop from about 5 miles an hour and 10 miles an hour before you road test the vehicle. Make sure the brakes are working properly. We hope this helps you out. Brought to you by www.1aauto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet. Please feel free to call us toll-free 888-844-3393. We're the company that's here for you on the internet and in person.